Before we start, I want you to do something for me. Stop whatever else you are doing. Close the other tabs. Put the phone down or hold it closer, whichever you prefer. Because what I'm about to tell you tonight is the kind of thing that works best when you give it your full attention. These are not stories from other countries, not something ancient and distant that could never touch your life. These are American. They come from the land under your feet, from the forests at the edge of the roads you drive on, from the lakes you swim in, from the communities where people you trust live their lives during the day. There are 5 of them tonight. 5 creatures from American folklore that most people have never heard of. I'm going to tell you about all of them. And by the end, I want you to tell me in the comments which one you think is real, because I have a feeling about which one you'll pick. Let's start with the one that is always behind you. Deep in the forests of the Pacific Northwest, among the loggers who worked the old-growth trees in the late 1800s and early 1900s, there was a creature they talked about in the camps at night. They called it the hide-behind. It had a simple rule, one specific, terrible rule. It was always directly behind you, not to the left, not above you, not somewhere in the trees ahead, behind you, always, no matter how fast you turned, no matter how suddenly you spun around. The hide-behind was always 1/2 second faster than your fastest movement. It was always just around the edge of your vision, sliding behind the nearest tree, pressing itself behind the nearest trunk. You would never see it. That was the nature of it. The loggers described it as tall, very tall, thin, capable of compressing itself behind objects that should not have been able to hide it. A tree trunk 6 inches wide could conceal it completely. A fence post, a lamp post, anything. It fed on intestines. That was the specific detail that got passed around the logging camps. Not blood, not hearts. Intestines. It would take a man in the deep forest, and when the other loggers found him, if they found him, what was missing was specific and always the same. Now, I want you to sit with this concept for a moment, not as folklore, as a real experience. You know that feeling you get sometimes, alone in a house at night, or walking to your car in a dark car park, or lying in bed and suddenly you just know, that something is behind you, and you have to look, you have to turn around, even though you know nothing is there. Even though you know you are being irrational, you still turn around. Why do you think that is? Because some part of us, some very old, very animal part that doesn't care about rational thought, knows that the thing behind you is the most dangerous thing. Because predators attack from behind. Because we evolved eyes in the front of our heads, because the things that wanted to kill us came from where we couldn't see. The hide-behind is the personification of that instinct, the thing that makes you turn around, already gone when you do. Dozens of men disappeared in those Pacific Northwest forests. Not all of them were accidents. Not all of them could be explained by falls and equipment failures and the ordinary dangers of felling trees. Some of them just didn't come back. And the ones who did come back sometimes mentioned that feeling. In the last hours before they turned back, the specific, crawling, inescapable feeling of something directly behind them, they had learned to trust that feeling. They had turned around and walked out of those forests as fast as their legs would carry them. The ones who didn't trust it were the ones who didn't come back. Second, this one is more recent than you might think. The deer woman. She appears across dozens of Native American nations. The Ojibwe, the Potawatomi, the Omaha, the Ponca, the Lakota. Nations across the entire continent have their own version of her. When a piece of folklore exists independently across cultures that never had contact with each other, that means something. It means multiple groups of people in different places at different times encountered something similar enough to describe it the same way. She is a woman, beautiful. The most beautiful woman you have ever seen in your life. She appears at the edges of firelight at powwows, on dark roads at night, in clearings in the forest. She looks at you and something happens to your thinking, a kind of warmth, a kind of pull, the feeling that nothing in the world matters except getting closer to her. Men follow her. They always follow her. She is never found in open ground. She is always just at the edge of something, just past the tree line, just beyond the light, just around the corner of the road, close enough to follow, far enough to keep walking, and she walks with a particular grace, a particular movement. Something almost wrong about the way her legs move, but you cannot place exactly what. You would only notice if you looked down. Most men don't look down. Where her feet should be hooves, deer hooves, and by the time you see them, you are already too far from the fire. Too far from the people who might have called you back, too deep into whatever darkness she has led you into. Men who follow the deer woman are found dead, trampled, the way a deer tramples something, hoofprints on the body, or they are not found at all. There is a dimension to the deer woman that most people who tell this story leave out. In several nations' traditions, she does not appear randomly. She appears to men who have done wrong to women, abusive men, violent men. Men who thought they were safe because the woman they had hurt had no way to bring consequences down on them. She appears to those men specifically, which makes her something more complicated than a monster. Third, the Stikini, from the Seminole and Creek nations of the American South. The Stikini are witches, but not the kind you imagine when you hear that word, not a woman with a pointed hat, not something obviously wrong, something you could identify and step away from. The Stikini look completely human. During the day, they live in the community. They are your neighbors, your elders, the person you have known your entire life, the face you trust, the voice that has always meant safety. During the day, there is no way to tell. At night, they go into the forest, and they transform. The transformation begins with them opening their mouths, wider than a human mouth opens, and they vomit out their own internal organs. All of them, heart, lungs, stomach, intestines, everything. They pull themselves inside out and hang the organs in a tree carefully, deliberately. And once the transformation is complete, what remains is enormous. A horned owl, larger than any natural owl, with a wingspan that blocks out the moon. It consumes human hearts specifically, pulling them directly from sleeping people without waking them. And before dawn it returns to the tree, retrieves its organs, reabsorbs them, and walks back into the village as a person, as your neighbor, as the face you trust. The reason this particular piece of folklore has stayed with me is not the transformation, not the organs in the tree, not even the owl. It's the returning. Every morning it comes back and lives beside you and you have no idea. The horror of the Stikini is not the monster in the forest. It is the monster at the breakfast table. It is the horror of not knowing which person in your life is not what they appear to be. And here is the thing about that horror. It is not unique to folklore. There is a reason this story exists in multiple variations across cultures worldwide. There is a reason it resonates every single time. Because at some point in your life, you have discovered that someone you trusted was not what you thought they were. Not a literal witch, not literally consuming hearts at night, but wrong, fundamentally wrong. In a way that you could not have seen coming. And you are sitting here right now listening to this, thinking of a specific person. Tell me in the comments if you felt that. You don't have to say who, just tell me if you thought of someone. Fourth, I am going to tell you about a sound. In the mountains of the American South, in the Appalachian ranges that run through Tennessee and North Carolina and Kentucky and West Virginia, there is a sound that people have been reporting for hundreds of years. It sounds exactly like a woman crying, not an animal, not the wind, a woman. Sobbing, deep in the woods, in the dark, and when you hear it, every instinct in your body tells you to find her, to help, to follow the sound and locate whoever is in distress. That instinct will get you killed. The Wampus cat. Her origin is older than the Appalachian settler tradition. It comes from the Cherokee people who knew these mountains long before anyone else. There was a woman in the old stories who wanted to know what the men knew. The men had ceremonies, sacred ceremonies held in the deep forest at night from which women were excluded. Not because women were less, because these particular ceremonies held knowledge that was considered too dangerous for an unprepared mind. This woman did not accept the exclusion. She took a large cat skin. She wrapped herself in it. And she crept through the dark forest to the edge of the ceremony and hid herself among the trees and watched. She was discovered. The medicine man saw her, and he did not simply send her away. He spoke a curse, and the cat's skin fused to her body permanently. She could not remove it. She could not shed it. It became her. She became it. Half woman, half mountain lion, trapped between two natures belonging to neither. She ran into the mountains. She has been there ever since. The Wampus cat moves at night. She is enormous, larger than any natural mountain lion. She is fast in a way that makes no sense, covering distances between one cry and the next that should be impossible. Her eyes glow in the dark, yellow gold, burning, and the smell of her breath, if she gets close enough, drives a person insane. Not frightened, not confused, insane. Days of raving. Days of being somewhere else entirely inside their own head, unable to recognize faces they have known their whole lives. Some people recover, some don't. But it's the sound that gets most people, because a woman crying in the dark is not something most of us can ignore. It runs too deep. The response to a human in distress is not a choice. It happens before your rational mind can weigh it. By the time you decide to follow the sound, you are already following it. This is a genuine question, and I want you to answer it honestly. You are alone. It is past midnight. You hear what sounds like a woman crying somewhere in the trees behind your house. It sounds real. It sounds like pain. What do? Do you go in? Do you call out? Do you call someone? Do you go back inside and lock the door and spend the rest of the night wondering? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to know, because every person I have ever asked this has given a different answer, and the answers say something. Fifth, and I have saved this one for last because this one is different from the others. The others live in the forest, in the dark, in the places you can choose not to go. This one finds you where you are. Louisville, Kentucky. There is a railway trestle on the outskirts of the city, the Pope Lick Trestle. It is 80 feet above the ground. It carries active train traffic. It has no pedestrian walkway. It has no safety barrier. People have been dying on it for a long time, not because they fell, because something called them up there. The Pope Lick monster is described as half man, half goat. The body and legs of a goat, the torso and face of a man with pale mottled skin and sharp curved horns. It lives beneath the trestle in the darkness under the bridge. But that is not how it kills. It doesn't chase you. It doesn't attack you. It doesn't come for you in the night. It calls you. In the voice of someone you love. Your mother's voice. Your child's voice. Your closest friend. The specific voice that, if you heard it calling your name in the dark, you would not hesitate. You would move toward it without thinking. It calls your name, in that voice. From the direction of the trestle, and it calls again, and you follow. And you are on the trestle before you have made a conscious decision to be there. And then the train comes. In 2016, a 26-year-old woman named Rockwell Bain died on the Pope Lick Trestle. She had gone there specifically because of the legend. She was struck by a train. In 2019, a teenager survived after being hit on the same structure. The same story, decades apart. The local authorities have put up signs, fences, warnings. They have prosecuted trespassers. People keep going up there. Now, I want to be clear. People go up there because of the legend, because of curiosity. That is the rational explanation. But the legend itself, the thing the legend describes, is something particular. It is not a creature that overpowers you. It is a creature that uses the specific voice that bypasses every defense you have. The voice you would follow anywhere. The voice that means safety. The voice that means you are not alone. I want to ask you something, and I want you to really sit with it before you answer. Whose voice would do it for you? Not rhetorically. Actually think about it. If you were alone somewhere dark and you heard one specific person's voice calling your name, whose voice would make you move before you thought about it? You don't have to say it out loud, but know it. Because that is your vulnerability. That is the version of this creature that could get you. The folklore is telling you something. It is telling you that the most dangerous thing is not the monster you can see. It is the voice of the person you would follow without question. Think about that. 5 creatures, 5 different fears. The thing always behind you that you never see. The beautiful face at the edge of the firelight leading you away from safety. The trusted neighbor who walks back into the village every morning. The sound of a woman crying deep in the dark mountain woods. And the voice of someone you love calling your name from a place you should never go. What all 5 of them have in common is this: they do not defeat you with strength. They do not overpower you. They use something that is already inside you, your instincts, your desires, your love, your fear, your trust. They reach into the most human parts of you and they pull, and you follow. American folklore is full of monsters in the dark, creatures in the water, things in but the ones that have lasted, the ones that have been told and retold across centuries and across cultures, are the ones that understand something about us. They know us better than we know ourselves.